And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here at Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill here in St. Pete for this Game 3 of the Toronto Blue Jays versus our Tampa Bay Rays. I am Eric Wilson, joined by Dwayne Lindo, and our guest in the house, our true Rays fan, second biggest Rays fan next to the great Al Bushman, of course, Pinto. So, gentlemen, keeping with Game 3, let me ask you a question. And Dwayne, I'll start with you. What are you looking for tonight with this matchup that you got going on this evening?
Look, I think the Rays more than likely keep this momentum, scoring quite a few runs. Their lineup is pretty stacked right now. They have a lot of confidence. Kevin Cash has a lot of confidence in his players. Look to them to possibly win the series against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays probably the odd man out when it comes to the AL East. I see Baltimore, New York, Boston kind of in the running. Toronto probably the lower end. So look for the Rays to get the W today.
So, speaking of your ace, Pinto, he's back on the mound tonight, facing Sanchez for Toronto. What do you expect from your ace this evening?
I expect him to pick up right where he left off opening day. Come out there, pitch 7 strong, and hopefully the bullpen can hold up and they come out with a W again.
So let me ask you, how do you feel about Longoria and his new look, shall we say?
I love it.
Okay, I just want to know because, listen, for so long, Longoria had been the clean-cut guy. You know what I'm saying? He had been the guy who, he came out, he looked the part, he dressed the part. All of a sudden now he turned 30, or he's about to turn 30, and he got this little beard going on here now, and Evan loves it, so I had to ask you how you felt about it.
I mean, he's batting .313 with 2 homers and 5 RBIs. If it ain't broke, leave it.
Okay, all right. And look, baseball is a game of superstition.
Yeah.
So you have someone, any positional player, pitcher, whoever it is, growing a beard, and of course, you just spotted out the numbers, Pinto. Nothing's changing anytime soon with the look. I'm telling you that right now.
Okay, I just had to ask because I'm like, it's a different feel for me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, so all of a sudden one day, Pinto and I decided to just grow our hair out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's
It's a
just
great look for both of you guys, I think. I mean, look at this. Come on.
listen. I like what I like, and it's worked for me. But if all of a sudden I decide to switch it up a little bit, people might start to question, hey, what's going on? But look, as I always say, numbers don't lie. He's doing it, and it's early this season, but this is what we expect. I think he has really asserted himself as the captain of this team.
But here's the deal, too. Right off the top of the show, we mentioned that the Rays scoring all these runs.
Yeah.
This is not reminiscent of the Rays last year or the year before. You know, when Madden was top of the ship, Madden played a lot of small ball because the lineup wasn't really stacked. But we have the Rays scoring quite a few runs. As the captain, who sets the tone? Evan Longoria. Obviously, Evan Longoria, Pinto just read out the numbers. He's setting the tone. Okay. So with Evan Longoria setting the tone, if he can keep this up, the whole lineup keeps it up.
All right.
So again, that's one of
as far as he goes.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that.
So what about Norris, your new catcher? You like him?
I just looked up the stats from last year and this year.
Right.
Last year they had 1 player bat over 300. That was Steve Peterson. He only played 60 games. This year, I know it's only been a week.
Right.
But they got 4 people batting over 300.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that right there shows a lot.
It does. And like you said, it's setting the tone for this team. It's letting everybody know, you know what, sleep on this if you want to. But at the end of the season, we'll see who's going into September and October and who's, you know, just sitting at home like the rest of us watching football. So I get it. Getting back to Norris, though, I want to ask you. You brought him over from Washington. The chemistry, I like his chemistry. I like what I've seen him do both with Archer and with Cobb. I like what he did with Matt Andrees last night. So now he's got his boy back, so you're expecting more of the same. How do you feel about Norris coming in?
I love him. I mean, the Rays have never really had a catcher, ever.
Evan said the same thing. Explain this to me because, correct me if I'm wrong, someone has been a catcher for your team.
I mean,
but all of a sudden, it's like, now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, the Rays have a catcher. I'm thinking to myself, well then who's been behind plate for the last 16, 17 seasons? Because
I mean, when you think of a catcher, who you think of? You think of Yadier Molina,
okay,
who does it behind the plate and does it at bat.
Okay.
When do the Rays have a catcher that can actually hit the baseball? When? Tell me. Pick a name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, all right.
They've never
Enough
had,
said.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, everybody brings up Navarro. Navarro didn't hit the ball that low. I mean, he had a couple good years, but I mean, he wasn't a powerhouse.
Right.
And between Norris and then with Wilson, when he gets healthy, between the two of them, I think they have a 1-2 punch back there to where they're actually be able to put up some offense production behind the plate. And they've always been missing that. Always.
All right.
So he has the stuff to make it happen. Norris.
I believe so, yes.
Listen, what I've seen over the last, 5 games, well, 5 games going into tonight, number 6, I love this guy. I want to look at Washington and say, why did you decide to get rid of him? Because the production that you spoke of, he just brought over from Washington into Tampa and has made noise from spring training, because I actually saw him in spring training. And then to see him just carry it right over. He developed an instant chemistry with Archer. He developed an instant chemistry with Cobb. I'm sure as time goes on with Snell and Andrees and the rest of the crew, he will just be that guy. So I agree with you, but I just find it funny that I hear it a lot in football, not so much in baseball. Oh, we finally have this particular position. So I just, to me, it's hilarious.
And not only that, look at the Braves back in the day in the early 90s. Ray Maddox was one of the best pitchers. He always had his catcher.
Right.
You know, he didn't put the ball in play, but that was his catcher. Ray Maddox went out there and did what he needed to do. And that's what Norris does with Chris Archer. I'm okay with that. You know, every 5th start, he goes out there and he throws 7 innings and hits a W. I don't need him to hit the ball.
Okay. All right. Well, we do have a few Toronto fans in the building.
I think like 1 or 2.
Well, I saw 4 of them just kind of walk down towards the stadium early, so I guess they're trying to get their seats early. But, you know, let's talk about Toronto, a team that did make the postseason last year. Unfortunately, they were unsuccessful in getting the chip. But looking at where they're at, I guess I have to ask the question. With the offseason moves that they made, and the fact that now Batista is the man there, what are we looking for as far as production from the Blue Jays? And I need you to be unbiased here, Pinto, about this. All right, I just, you know. But talk to me about the Blue Jays and what some of your expectations are looking at this team.
I mean, frankly, I think they're the odd team out in the AL East. I mean, they made 1 or 2 moves, but I mean, the point of the matter is, if you don't have any pitching, and we discussed this quite a few shows, where AL East, other than Boston, the AL East is kind of lacking a little bit of pitching, just a little bit. But Toronto, I just don't see it happening in Toronto.
Right.
I mean, they'll score a few runs here. It's just the same old song and dance up in Canada, where these guys are scoring quite a few runs, but in terms of the pitching end, they're not getting the production. Again, I just feel they're the odd man out in the East.
Okay. All right.
I agree. If they're going to get to the postseason, their bats will carry them to the postseason. They have Strawman, which is a good pitcher,
right.
But after that, I mean, who do they really have?
All offense, no defense.
Yeah,
You guys are
so as long as their bats can stay hot, which is hard for 162 games, but if they can pull that off, they could probably work themselves into the postseason. I mean, that's a killer lineup. And if I was a pitcher, I'd be afraid to go against that lineup.
Looking at both their lineups on paper, just on paper alone, Dwayne, who do you give a slight edge to tonight? Tonight, do you give it to the Blue Jays or do you give it to the Rays?
Archer on the mound, I got to give it to the Rays.
Okay, I'm not even going to ask you, Pinto. I already know where you're going with that.
Unbiased opinion, Pinto.
No, you're right. And you know what? It's a unanimous decision, because what I'm going to say to you is, looking at what this team has done, speaking of the Rays, looking what they have done just over the last 5 games, as we've said it throughout this whole entire show, setting the tone. They have the production with the bats this year. Archer has made a turnaround from last season to this season so far. And yeah, we're not trying to jump the gun here and saying, oh, the Rays are going to be World Series champions. But what we are saying is, you know what? They're not at that 68 team that we saw last season. They are coming out and letting everybody know and serving notice to 2 of their AL East opponents, because they're going to see these guys over and over again. But I think now is the time for them to serve notice to the entire MLB to say, you know what? If you think we're just going to roll over this year, it's not going to happen. It really isn't. All right, gentlemen, let me get a score from you tonight. You both are saying that the Rays are going to win tonight, so I need a score. Pinto, I'll start with you.
I'm going 6-1 Rays.
Wow, 6-1. You know, the night that we were up here for game 2, there was a guy, a Yankees fan, and he said that Yankees were going to go 8-0. And I looked at him and said, "You're crazy. It's not going to happen." He was partially right. It was 5-0 that night. So,
but and I agree, they didn't lose 5-0, but the Rays had opportunities to score runs. They just didn't cash in on them. And last year, they didn't have the opportunities. Nobody was getting on base. This year, people are getting on base, and in that game, they just happened to they didn't get the big hit that game. And even that last night, but the night before, they lost 5-2. They still had opportunities to win that game. I mean, they were in that game. I mean, they lost 5-2, but people were on base. They just didn't get that big hit that night. And that's the difference between this year and last year, I think.
Well, yeah, you know, they're only shut out, obviously. You know, I don't think they'll get shut out today at all. I know they'll win. I think it won't be as high of a score of a game that you think it is. I say it's a one-run game, 3-2.
3-2. Wow, so you're saying 6-1. You're saying 3-2. You know what? I'll meet you gentlemen in the middle here, because you're only giving the Blue Jays 2 runs. You're only giving the Blue Jays 1 run. I'll say 1 run, but I say 4-1. I think they get the bats hitting early like they have been doing these past 5 games, and they set the tone like they have been. But again, tonight is what I expect to see. Now, this is my second time getting to see Archer. He's your #1. He's your ace. It's against a divisional opponent. So come out there tonight and show me that you truly are the man that everybody, and even yourself, says, this is our ace. This is our #1. So I want to see it tonight. That's what I want to watch and see. So I guess time will tell. Gentlemen, great stuff. You know what? I'm going to take another quick break. When we come back, a couple of things I want to touch on before we let our fans get out of here and head over to the stadium as the Rays face the Blue Jays for Game 3. You are listening to us. Again, thank y'all for chiming in. We are live at Ferg, and we're going to be all season long. This is Whole Nutha Level, and we'll be right back. Back to Whole Nutha Level right here at Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. Game 3 for the Tampa Rays against Toronto Blue Jays is getting ready to start. We've given you our predictions. We've told you what we thought about the series so far and what we think and what we expect tonight. So before we run out of here today, I guess we should talk about the knowing your opponents is very smart, because sometimes it can give you a leg up against when you see them. So we have the Orioles and the Yankees game going on right behind us, and Dwayne, I know the Yankees are your team, so I want to talk to you. And here's what I want to know from you, Dwayne. This team, have they found their identity since the loss of Jeter and now A-Rod? Have they found who they are? Can they be the Yankees of old? That's the question.
Look, that's going to take a little bit of time. This is something we discussed last week where, you know, a lot of these older players are now gone. We mentioned them, A-Rod, Jeter, blah, blah, blah. They're gone. They're gone. They're done.
All right.
The Yankees still looking for an identity. And I said that the Yankees would win at least 90 games this year. I know that's a stretch. I know it is. But, you know, we can scrap together a few. I think if a lot of these young players, we have a couple players that are playing in Tampa right now. Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, did I pronounce that right? Trenton. We've got a lot of guys in the league, in the farm system, being built up. Obviously, a young team now. We just saw Brett Gardner with a great catch. He's one of the veterans. But again, yes, the Yankees are still looking for an identity. Okay. They're still looking for a leader. But I think the Yankees can hold their own this year. Again, it's going to take some time for them to be the Yankees of old. Give them 2 or 3 years, because again, there's a lot of great players in the farm system that are up and coming, and another year from now, another 2 years from now, we'll get that leader. But now we don't have it. Yes, we don't have an identity.
Okay, I had to ask that question. So I want to let everybody know too, if you're down here listening to us, make sure you take care of our girl Trish behind the bar. She's working hard for you, getting everything set up and making sure you guys are taken care of. So make sure you stop over here, say hi to Trish, make sure you guys take care of her. But Pinto, I want to ask you about Baltimore. This team didn't do much in the offseason. This team is kind of running out the same cast of characters that they had from last season. Now, they were successful. They made it to the postseason. But talk to me about the Orioles and what you expect, because living in the Sarasota-Bradenton area, we have a lot of Orioles fans who, when the Rays and the Orioles play each other up here at the Trop, this place packs out. And I think it's pretty much almost split down the middle, 50-50. Well, talk to me about them.
I mean, I see them just like the Toronto Blue Jays. They have a powerful offense, but is the pitching going to get the job done to carry them over the hump? I mean, they're going to put runs on the board. I mean, that's a killer lineup also. But their biggest question, which I'm surprised they didn't address, is the pitching. And that's going to probably be their Achilles heel this year, is the pitching.
Let me ask you a question, because when we were on break, someone had made the comment that currently, right now, Manny Machado is the best third baseman in Major League Baseball. Do you agree with that?
You know what? I think I might say that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he does it in the field, and he does it at the plate. I mean, yeah, everybody's gonna say maybe Evan Longoria, but he really hasn't had the plate numbers that can compare with Machado. I mean, yeah, he's a great defensive third baseman, but the numbers just haven't been there as far as offensive production. For Machado, he's been doing on both ends since he came into the league.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to get that thought. So, gentlemen, any last final words, thoughts before we ride out of here today?
Well, look, we have the Yankees-Orioles game behind us. 2-1 score, Yankees. We'll see how they fare out, man. I mean, we just mentioned that Baltimore has a stacked lineup. But, you know, it's Tanaka's on the mound for the Yankees. He's holding it up, so we'll see what happens. Go Yankees.
Nutha?
Let's go Rays!
There we go. There we go. Folks, we thank y'all for listening to us here. And one Blue Jays fan in the building.
There we go.
There we go. That's the one that we got here.
Canadians.
But, well, Pinto, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back in about 2 weeks here. So, for Dwayne Lindo, this is your man Eric Wilson. And until next time, we've taken you to a whole other level. We'll see you next time. Thank you.